On October 28th, I was at a marine biology conference in Indonesia, and I went diving on a coral reef. I felt like I dropped into an impressionist painting, gliding over blue waters, across orange corals, surrounded by hundreds of colorful fish. Suddenly, a large sea turtle came along beside me, and we made eye contact. And for the rest of the dive, we swam side by side over that reef until at the end, the turtle turned out towards the open ocean, and I went back to the boat. It was a magical encounter. 3 days later, I was returning home to the US, and we stopped in Taiwan to refuel for the 11-hour journey back to Los Angeles. Amazingly, we were in the middle of a hurricane, and the plane shook and shuddered on the tarmac. Shortly before midnight, the plane taxied out to the runway and accelerated, and we started to take off and slammed into construction equipment, which pierced the engines, and the plane exploded in a massive fireball. In the violence of that crash, I was thrown from my seat and hurled across the plane, and then flung across the other way. And as I flew through the air, I looked down and saw a fireball shoot by where I'd been sitting. I was catapulted through the air again, this time hitting the side of the plane and getting knocked out. And I came to under a pile of debris, soaked in jet fuel, in a wreck that was on fire. Luckily, I found a way out and escaped. And I found myself standing on the tarmac in Taiwan, in the dress I was wearing, no shoes, stunned, nothing else. Now, a plane crash is chaotic because it's not supposed to happen. Nobody really knows what's going on. Who made it out? Who didn't? Who got taken to hospital? What hospital? Where is everybody? And for a survivor, it's particularly bewildering. For the next week, I was trying to get a passport to get home, find shoes for my feet, and deal with what I'd seen. And I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't rest. No matter what I did, I could not sleep. Finally, one afternoon, I just filled the bathtub, and I jumped in there under that water. And I put myself back on that coral reef with that sea turtle. Immediately, I felt calm, I felt relaxed, I felt safe. And I knew I felt ready to take on the stresses. As soon as I got home, I knew I had to get back out in nature to heal. And so I walked on beaches, I snorkeled, I hiked in mountains and in forests. And it was there in nature that I was able to confront what I'd seen, how I felt about it, and how I was going to use it to move forward. Nature was my source of resilience, how I recovered. Now, every one of you has a place in nature that you like to go. And I'd like you now to mentally go there for just a minute. Close your eyes, experience being there. And now come back to me. How do you feel? That experience is your personal resilience, courtesy of nature, and it's always there for you. But now, I want to take that experience and raise it up a notch and bring it into a much broader realm. I want to take you where that journey took me and show you how you can purposefully use nature to build community resilience. A few years after that plane crash, the Indian tsunami roared ashore and devastated parts of Southeast Asia. Those receding waves dragged debris from land back into the ocean, onto the seabed and marine habitats. And I went back to that region as a volunteer scientist, working with many amazing other scientists, with scuba divers from PADI, from Project Aware, and local groups. And we were removing debris from the reefs and restoring ecosystems. Everywhere I worked, from Sri Lanka to the Maldives to the coast of Thailand, I saw the same pattern repeat. Those communities that had protected their natural resources fared better and were recovering faster. How so? Well, along many coasts, the barrier reefs broke the force of the waves, so the sea came in slower and not as far. Coastal marshes did much the same. But it wasn't only the physical presence of those ecosystems that made a difference. In the aftermath of the tsunami, healthy reefs were a source of fish and fisheries. Adjacent forests were a source of fuel for cooking and wood for shelter. And it was these ecosystems that provided the resilience for communities to recover. Now, we don't all experience tsunamis or hurricanes or plane crashes, fortunately. But every single one of us is experiencing the effects of a rapidly changing climate today. And for many, that experience is overwhelming, it's traumatic, and it's confusing. Carbon dioxide levels are already above 400 parts per million. For cities like Miami, flooding is the new normal. Our planet is on track for global average temperatures to rise above 2 degrees C. And we are literally watching entire island nations disappear before our very eyes. How can we not feel powerless? What can we do? Well, plenty, as it turns out. First of all, realize we're not alone in this. We have an ally. Nature is our ally. By aligning our actions with nature, we can better navigate these unprecedented changes that we're facing. How? By maintaining our coastal reefs and our oyster reefs. These reefs protect us against sea level rise. A living coral absorbs between 80 and 90% of a wave's energy, reducing flooding. A dead reef simply collapses and the water flows in unimpeded. In the valleys of Idaho, forests are key to flood protection. They bind the soil and they absorb water. With deforestation or forest fires that kill trees, we do not have these services, and our communities are vulnerable to flooding and to landslides, as well as the economic effects that go with it. Protective forests counteract these effects. So nature is our ally. We can rely on nature, but think and act locally. Every one of us lives on an ecosystem, whether you're in the mountains, whether you're in the coast, or whether you're in a city. We construct our communities on nature. Our local ecosystems provide us with valuable services, whether it's clean water, or fisheries, or fuel. Those services strengthen our resilience, particularly during times of change. They always have. It's why we settled our communities in these places in the first time. There are 3 actions we can take today, all of us. First, get acquainted with your local ecosystem. How does it work? How does it function? What services does it provide you? Fishing industry? Food? Clean water? Secondly, how healthy is your local ecosystem today? Is it robust enough to provide you with those services you've identified? Or is it degraded and diminished and not able to do so? Thirdly, take action. What specific action can your community do today to better use nature to give you those services? Now, it may be as straightforward as restoring a wetland for flood protection, but more likely it's a little more sophisticated today and may involve blending ecosystems with traditional engineering work. This is called green and grey infrastructure. And that approach is going to be particularly important for cities where half of us live today and where 2/3 of us are going to live by 2050. How do we do that in these built-up areas? We look first at the landscape beneath our feet, and then we put our houses, our services, our construction, our community on that landscape in a way that works with nature and not against her. The tragedy of the flooding in Houston, caused by Hurricane Harvey, was exacerbated by us paving over nature to such an extent that she could offer us no protection or no value whatsoever. Cities like Houston, Miami, and all of us in our communities have the unique opportunity today to better use nature to help us build our resilience through this time of unprecedented change. The message is simple. Nature is our ally. Protect nature, nature protects us. Thank you.